Bad teacher joke. What rushes out in the ground shouting knickers, knickers, knickers? Crude oil. This topic is about hydrocarbons. List as many things as you can think of made from crude oil. Watch the video and add any that you've missed. Some of the types which are covered in the video are on the next slide. There's also extra stuff on this slide. Please watch, this is interesting. It won't actually be covered much in the course, but it will greatly add to your knowledge. And toxic in the USA is the same as anaerobic in the UK. So watch, write notes, and have a look and see how you did over the page. How'd you get on? Have you remembered to add any? Okay, at this point, go on to the next slide. The little bits outside of the video square are there because it's necessary that you understand these things. So make sure you write it down, then watch the film. At the end of it, you'll have an understanding as to how oil actually came to be. Spend a bit of time on this slide. Have a look at all the different hydrocarbons. See the intermolecular forces between them. This huge mixture of hydrocarbons all in together is called crude oil. The difference between light crude and heavy crude is the amount of different length hydrocarbons included in its mixture. Make sure you write down what's there, or at least have a good understanding of it, especially the fact that these are called fractions, these different sizes of hydrocarbons. They will always be 2 or 3 in a fraction because the energy involved in separating them out into each individual hydrocarbon is just not cost effective. Okay, once you've written some notes, move on. Look at the picture. 2 questions about hydrocarbons. Answers are in the yellow box. Write it down. This understanding is important because the shape of the molecule gives you some of its properties. Explains why plastic is solid and gasoline, or petrol as we like to call it, octane, is in fact a liquid. Another, watch the video. Write notes. The information on this video will be important as you move forward through the rest of this lesson. So make sure you've understood what they're talking about. Okay, it says it's all important notes, so write them down. The understanding, however, is all about that molecule in the middle. It's an alkane. It's an organic compound consisting entirely of hydrogen and carbon atoms. They're joined by single covalent bonds because they're both hydrogen and carbon are non-metals, and so their electrons are shared, and they're single bonds. There's no double bonds in there at all. So these alkanes are saturated because their carbons are full of hydrogens, or they're connected to other carbons, and there's no spaces at all, no double bonds, nothing you can put in, and all alkanes end in ANE to tell you this fact. They have a general formula, CnH2n plus 2. This means there's twice as many hydrogens plus 2 as there are carbons. That molecule in the middle of the page is decane. It's got 10 carbons, twice as many hydrogens plus 2, so it's C10H22. And it is part of an homologous series of alkanes, as they contain only hydrogen and carbon. You might remember homozygous, things which are the same. Homosexual, sex between 2 men. This is homologous, and it means they only contain hydrogen and carbon. Okay, think about this, write it down, look carefully at the molecule. You can see how everything refers back to that, and then move on. Okay, have a good look at this page. It's a general formula again, which you need to know. CnH2n plus 2. Remember that meant count carbons, and there's twice as many hydrogens plus 2. An example has been done for you. There's ethane. Ethane is C2H6. 2 carbons, twice as many hydrogens plus 2. So there's 2 carbons and 6 hydrogens. You need to learn the first 4 alkanes: methane, ethane, propane, and butane. You also need to know their formulas. So CH4, 2CH6, 3CH8, and 4CH10. Click on once. There's a little question for you. The 5th member of the alkanes is pentane. What will its formula be? Draw a pentane molecule. So something like the ethane, but for pentane. It's the 5th member, so how many carbons will it has? Once you've done something, write it down and have a little check and see if you got it right. And that's span for you because it's that important and you've got to learn it. Don't have to know about pentane, but you do have to know the first 4. You have to know if they give you, there's a certain amount of carbons that you can do twice as many hydrogens plus 2, and that they will all have single bonds. On this page, you've just got to copy down the table and fill it in. Prefix means, in this case, the bit which goes in front of the ane. Carbons, you just count them. Hydrogens, remember there'll be twice as many hydrogens as there were carbons plus 2. And the formula at the end, you just got to write them in. If there was only 1 carbon, you don't need to write 1. C will be sufficient. On the next slide will be the answers. Fill it in, see how you get on. Check all your answers, see how you got on. If you got them all right, well done. If you need to make corrections, do them in red. Now an assess slide. Can I explain that crude oil is made of hydrocarbons called alkanes? If you can do the questions on the next 2 slides, it's pretty certain the answer is yes. So give them all a go. Number 6, fill in the missing words. You should know them by now. If not, have a look back. On the next slide, of course, there will be some answers. Do your corrections in red and have a look and see how you got on. Check the answers. Now, check the answers on this slide. It doesn't matter if it's not exactly the same wording as I've got down, but it must mean the same sort of thing. Each question is important, so check that your understanding is there. Do any corrections you've got to do in red, and then you can have a look at the next slide. there's that formula again. CN H2N plus 2. Count the carbons, twice as many hydrogens plus 2. Each answer will use this formula. Go through, give it a go, click, and you'll get the answers. Check and see if you were right in each case. Look at that driving question at the top. Can you explain that crude oil is made of hydrocarbons called alkanes? Do you know what an alkane is? Do you know the first four? Do you know the general formula? If you're still not certain, there's another video clip, or take a trip to BBC Bite Size. You'll notice in the graphic for the BBC Bite Size that hydrocarbons can also be in rings, although we only showed them in lines during this presentation. Once you've finished on this page, go on and have a look at the assessment.